So, the good news is I finally got a cold open out of Cat. The bad news, it's for a trigger warning, guys.
Yeah, before we start, I want to give a content warning. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I really think it is needed with this episode. There is a lot of talk of suicide in this episode, so if that's something that makes you uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, we will completely understand if you skip this episode and come back to us for the next one. I will be putting links to the suicide prevention outlets that I have provided before on the website, and I will also link that in the iTunes show notes. But I will also give the number out now. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. Do not hesitate to call if you need to. Now, if you're still up for listening, on with the show.
Charm Chats with Kendra and Kat. Just a couple of girls talk about this and that. Get familiar with Blue and the charm ones too. Charm Chats. Welcome to Charm Chats with Kendra
And Kat.
Now that we're done with that downer,
Yeah.
we're on to more downers.
Yeah. We are on to episode 216, which is Murphy's Luck. It aired on March 30th, 2000, which...
As close to St. Patty's Day as they could probably manage.
Exactly. The title, of course, refers to Murphy's Law, which typically states anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Mm-hmm. I will link to the wiki on that if you want to read more. I'm actually not going to tangent on it, because there's not a whole lot more...
It's really not.
...that I could say about that
No.
at this juncture.
It just makes me think of stuff like Moore's Law and Godwin's Law and other, like, internet laws and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Murphy's Law isn't exactly one of those laws of the internet, but...
So let's get right into this episode, shall we?
We shall.
All right, we start out seeing a group of 5 guys getting their picture taken.
And, oh my god, it's so boy band.
Yeah, they are in very 2000s clothes. There's one guy...
There's like a vague space theme.
Well, yeah, there's one guy wearing a shiny silver shirt, another is in leather pants, and another is wearing a silver cowboy hat, because of course he is. There's a rocket in front of them that says 4-Star Mary on it, and that's because this is the band 4-Star Mary. Let me tell you about them.
I'm sorry, I stopped listening at Leather Pants.
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
It's been a while since we've had that, yes.
Yeah.
4-Star Mary is an alternative rock group that formed in California in 1997. Yeah. The band named themselves after the 4-Star versus Mary legal case in which apparently somebody named Mary attempted to sue ExxonMobil, a large U.S. oil company. I could not find any other information on that case as it does not have a wiki page.
So they're a hipster band.
They were hipster before hipster was hipster.
So
they're like the ultimate
hipster
band. Yeah. Now, here's a fun fact about this band, and this is as far as I will go into this tangent. If you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you know that there is a fictitious band in which the character of Oz, played by Seth Green, plays guitar in, called Dingoes Ate My Baby. He is in this band in seasons 2, 3, and 4. And that band is 4-Star Mary.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Man.
Apparently, they were playing at some charity something or other, or some party or whatever that Joss Wheaton was at, and he was like, I have a band that I'm looking for my show. You'll work. Come be on my show.
I love that you said Joss Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Like Will Wheaton.
No, it's Will Wheaton.
No, it's Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton and Joss Whedon.
Whedon.
Yeah. Whedon. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I just got the Dr. Herbal and the Buffy songbooks.
Yes, I saw those.
Yeah.
I saw those. I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm.
So, we see a man looking through Prue's portfolio of photos. Prue is wearing a patterned blue shirt that has like ruffled sleeves and a patterned red trim, and what looks like a few different tiny beaded necklaces all jumbled together. It was a very weird necklace thing. Can't really see much more of her outfit right now. We'll see that more later. Mm-hmm. The guy is in black pants, a purple shirt, and a dark gray vest. Because of course he is,
Mm-hmm. And they're spouting off. He's asking questions about lenses and shutter speeds, and she's answering him. And it sounds all very jargony and shit. I would like to call attention to the fact that Prue's entire portfolio looks like stock photos.
It really does.
It looks like those photos that are in the photo frames when you buy them.
Yeah.
Unless you go to Goodwill.
Well, there's that.
Well, even then sometimes.
Yeah. It really, really does look like stock photography.
He makes a comment in a sec about, like, artful, like, soulful, artistic, and I'm like, stock photo.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we learned that his name is Mr. Corso, so I might as well tell you about him really quickly. He's played by Kent Falcon. It's Faulcon. Falcon. He started acting in 1985, and he's still going, but he's mostly done single episodes of stuff. His wiki page, however, is laughable, so I'll just link to his IMDb. There's really not much else to say about him.
What makes it laughable?
It is a single sentence. And then just his credits. That's it. There's like nothing. It is laughable. It is not worth my time or energy to put that on the website. Just saying.
Anyway, he seems very impressed with her stock photos and says that based on that she'd get the job, but he's looking at her resume and he does that like, I don't know kind of face where he puts like his fingers over his mouth.
Yeah, like he's a little worried about the fact that she hasn't really done a whole lot in the past few years.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, I'm not hiding that. How many people lie on their fucking resumes, dude? But come on.
Yeah, take a chance on me, that sort of thing.
And so he like pulls out a headshot.
Yeah, it was very much a headshot.
Yeah, he pulls out a headshot and he's like, I need you to get a shot of this woman. We're doing an article on her. Her name is Maggie Murphy. Murphy's Luck. Get it?
Yeah.
And she's apparently the unluckiest Irish woman in San Francisco.
Yeah, and they're featuring her in a story for their St. Patty's Day issue.
And we get a little bit of exposition about how apparently her luck changed overnight. And I want you to capture her inner self.
Yeah.
And so he hands her the headshot.
And he gives her until 5 o'clock that day. So we don't know what time we're supposed to be at right now. But he gives her until 5 o'clock that day to get a picture back to him. Otherwise, don't even bother coming, is basically what he says. She thanks him and walks away. And we see this headshot picture. And we're about to see this Maggie in a moment. But I might as well tell you about her now since we get the picture.
Yeah, in case y'all don't recognize her. She's been a lot lately. This is Amy Adams, guys.
Yeah. She started her career on stage, performing in dinner theater, before she made her feature film debut, her very first acting credit on IMDb, in the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous, which, if you haven't seen it, is a hilariously stupid movie about beauty pageants. And
Which are hilariously stupid, for the most part.
I wholeheartedly recommend watching the movie because it is just... It is a good time.
Yeah.
Wrapped in a stupid package, and it's great.
Yeah.
Her appearance on Charmed was her 5th acting gig. She's done other TV shows, including Buffy.
Was she on Buffy before this? I can't remember. They were roughly the same time, I think.
I don't remember.
Because I know her hair was pretty much the fucking same.
I believe Buffy was after this.
Okay.
She was season 5, episode 6.
Yeah, she was Tara's cousin.
Yeah. She's been on Smallville, she's been on The West Wing, and then she got her second big movie break in the movie Catch Me If You Can.
An adorable braced nurse.
Yes, which
Aww.
Catch Me If You Can is one of my absolute favorite DiCaprio movies. Like,
it's got a really good soundtrack too.
Yeah, it really does. And it's based on a true story. How can you not love that? I mean, seriously. So her career has continued to grow. She's still going strong. She even got to be Lois Lane in the newest Superman movie franchises.
She was in Arrival, which I really loved.
I haven't seen that one yet. She's got a few things coming down the line, including what looks to be a sequel to the movie Enchanted called Disenchanted, which I'm very excited about.
I have not heard about this.
Yeah, it's been announced. It hasn't started yet. It's just
was this announced at D23?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm looking at IMDb. It has announced next to it. So that's all I am aware of.
Interesting.
So our next scene, we are on the rooftop of a building. And we see Maggie there. She is in black pants, a white long-sleeve hoodie over a gray turtleneck sweater with like tan and black lines on the bust. It must be cold in March in California.
Well, they're in San Francisco, which has a bit different weather because of the current.
Yeah, just the thought of being cold in March is weird, especially March in California.
Well, at this point, she's a very, very tiny woman. She doesn't have much insulation.
True. Sometimes I forget, you know?
Like, how old was she?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I
Well, click on the IMDb. We'll find out when she was born. 1974.
74. So
she
was born in Italy.
26.
She was born in Italy.
In Vincenzo, Veneto, Italy.
Yeah. I will admit I didn't even notice that because I
two American parents. Oh, her dad was stationed there. Okay.
Yeah, she's
Mormon?
She was at least raised Mormon, yeah. So there's a lot. Like I said, you go ahead and you look at her. Of course, link to her on the website, so go ahead and read up on her because she's apparently got a very interesting life that I took these notes while I was sick and did not go into more tangent than I normally would. So there you go. That's how you can tell. If my tangents about people that have interesting backstories are short, then I was sick when I took the notes. That's how you know. Anyway, so we see her walk over to the edge of the roof of this building. She peers over the edge, and we get a lovely POV shot of her looking down at the sidewalk below.
That's from an angle she would not be looking at.
Well, there is that. And then we see a Darklighter appear, which we know because we've seen those black orbs before.
Mm-hmm. It's really just they took the effect for white lighters and inverted it.
Yep, that's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
He is wearing a black suit with black shirt and black tie.
And guess what, guys? It's Imhotep!
Yes. He is instantly recognizable, so let me tell you about him. The actor is Arnold Vosloo. He was born in 1962 in South Africa, which explains his accent.
He doesn't have much of one, though.
But it's not like a normal...
It's certain vowels of his, are a bit weird, but, I could never place it because he does a very good job or I guess he did a very good job when he was younger of attempting to sound more American. So really, there's just a couple of vowels where he sounds kind of ambiguously, vaguely British, whatever.
Yeah, and that's how you... The vague Britishness of it and not being British enough is how you know it's South African.
I'd say there's more of a difference because South Africa was colonized by the Dutch.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, no, I'm just saying, because Afrikaans is a language that is basically...
Yeah, Dutch.
Dutch mixed with other shit.
Yeah.
It uses their vowels, which are different from British.
Right.
So, the accent is a bit different because, if any of you watch The Daily Show, Trevor Noah loves to do accents on there. And so when he does, a British accent, it's very different from his just normal speaking
South
accent.
African, yeah.
But his normal speaking accent is also different from his South African accent. And, it's just very interesting. And his American accent is adorable. I love it.
Anyway,
but yeah.
Arnold Vosloo became a naturalized citizen in the United States in 1988. So, yeah. His first IMDb credit is for a South African movie from 1984 that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but I will put a link to it on the website.
It looks like Maisie von Swedes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Not even going to try to pronounce it. Anyway, he did a lot of little movies and single episodes of TV shows until he got his big film break in 1999 with The Mummy, where
as
he played
Imhotep.
Right.
And apparently... this one was right in between The Mummy and The Mummy Returns.
Yes, this was, I believe, just after, not too long after. Since then, he has been on 24, and Chuck, and NCIS, and Bones. Yeah, he's been on a bunch of stuff. His latest role is actually on a show called Bosch, which is apparently an Amazon Prime Video show. # not sponsored.
Yeah, it's a crime procedural.
Yeah, I have not seen it because I don't care.
I just know the main guy was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
For a grand total of 3 episodes or something.
Okay. No idea.
First as an ally, then as a villain.
Okay. No clue. Anyway, and Darklighter.
Yeah, he's standing behind Maggie, and when he starts speaking, it's using Amy Adams' voice, and that kind of slowly shifts into...
It kind of morphs into his and hers together, and then hers drops out completely.
Yeah, they stack them, and then they fade hers.
Yeah, it was a really cool way of showing he's in her head.
Yeah.
It was a nice visual audio.
Yeah, because that's honestly, if you don't have to do that all the time, you don't. But it's a good way to show, this is what she hears, and now we're just gonna not have to edit this in ever again. Because work.
Yes. It was nice. So he's putting thoughts into Maggie's head that she's cursed, doesn't deserve to live. He's trying to get her to jump off the roof is what's happening. Mm-hmm. We get a shot really quickly of people gathering on the ground looking up at Maggie, who after we see the people gathering going, look, what's happening up there? We then see Maggie climbing up onto the ledge of the building. So I'm not really sure what they were looking at, because until she was on the ledge of the building, they shouldn't have been able to see her on the roof, and there was no reason for anyone to look up. But a la convenience, what can you do, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. So my favorite is that someone in ADR yells out, she's going to jump! And then with a little smile on his face, our Darklighter disappears.
And there's now apparently a ton of people
where
gathered on
the
the
heck
sidewalk.
they all came from, no idea.
They probably just orbed right in. Or something.
Yeah. Anyway, So side note, just a small, tiny little side note. We see from the POV from down below that Maggie is standing in front of a very large sign for Evan's Apartments. And the only place in California that I could find Evan's Apartments is San Jose and Los Angeles. I'm just saying.
We already know.
I know.
That they're not very good about covering up where the fuck they are.
Yeah. It's
And
really kind of
honestly,
sad sometimes, though.
Other than you, only people who live in LA and San Francisco might possibly recognize that.
I don't know.
Okay,
Just saying.
Nitpickers and residents of both two locales would probably be like, hang on a fucking second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just thought it was very funny, because it's this huge sign.
I agree, it's funny,
behind
but
her head.
it's still expected.
Yeah, but it's this huge sign that says Evan's Apartment, and you're just like, okay, let me look up where this is. Oh, San Jose and LA. Oh, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of those are close to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Like...
Yeah.
Just saying. Anyway.
I mean, we know they shoot in LA, so...
Yeah. So we see Prue turning up in her car. As she gets out, she notices Maggie on the roof. And...
Or more likely, she notices the crowd pointing up, and then she looks up.
Yeah.
And she needs to, like... We get the kind of a wide shot, and then we get a slightly closer shot, but it's still not terribly clear if it even is Amy Adams. Like, it could be, but it also could just be a really good double.
Oh, it's definitely a double, but, you know.
I mean, it's plausible, though. Like, it's blurry enough in the resolution that you don't need to have it be her.
Right.
And Prue has to look down at the headshot in her hands.
Yeah.
And then she goes, Maggie?
Yeah. And, like, she calls out to her, and, like, it's like her entire body does this, like, shake thing, where she's like, no! And then she astral projects onto the roof, because that's how her newest power works for her, is it just kind of happens to her sometimes.
Yeah, it happens when she's like, oh shit, I need to get somewhere, and I'm not fast enough to walk it.
Yeah.
Or run it.
Yeah. So as she appears on the roof, we can now see the full view of her outfit. She has added a blue jacket over top of her lovely
and
shirt.
It's a nice, not quite a duster.
No,
like ends mid calf.
Yeah, it's a little trench typey.
It's a lovely
light blue.
powder blue.
Yeah, it's a powder blue
trenchy.
Yeah, and we can see that she has paired all of this blue with red leather pants.
Leather pants.
Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah. So she calls out to Maggie, who turns around a little freaked out that this person has appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, and she's like, where the fuck did you come from? And Prue tries to get her to come down from the ledge.
And we can now see down below that cops and an ambulance have showed up.
Was there also a fire truck?
I don't remember a fire truck.
Because usually fire trucks are supposed to show up.
Yeah, possibly. I know that I saw a cop car and an
especially
ambulance.
with jumpers, I think fire trucks are supposed to show up, because I think they have, like, a thing.
Yeah, I know that I definitely saw a cop car and an ambulance.
Well, and also fire trucks just generally show up when you call an ambulance.
Very true. Maggie tries to explain to Prue that all she does is hurt people.
And then in order, like, she kind of, out of reflex, takes a step back right off the fucking ledge.
Yeah.
And she does this, like, flaily arm. But Prue grabs her.
Prue's astral form reaches out and grabs her, and she's struggling to hold on to her. And we get a lovely green screen shot.
Hang on, is this the first time we've seen Astral Prue touch anything?
No, she did touch a 2x4 to whack...
Oh, right, yeah.
The other guy, yeah.
Okay.
This is the first time that we see her physically touch another person.
Okay. I just couldn't remember. Because, wait, that was the Cupid episode, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. I love that I remember that. Yeah, so that was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a bit, yeah.
And,
so,
it's never... She doesn't do it enough for, like, people to remember that, she's actually physical when she's astral projecting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know she can't use her powers, but...
Yeah, her astral form can't use her other power because that would be insanely powerful.
But yeah, there's a beautiful green screen shot where you're just looking down. It's kind of from Prue's perspective, but like over her shoulder-ish.
Mm-hmm,
and you see Amy Adams just like looking up at her and telling her, "You need to let me go."
Yeah, and she's like dangling off the side of the building. And then we see her arm slipping, and when she finally slips and falls...
It's very... Well, the whole arm slipping thing is really hilarious because... It's the kind of slipping that you can only get when you two are trying to slip, because if you're actually holding someone with your entire weight, the second you get past the base of their hand, they're gone.
Yeah.
So, like, they get down to, like, the fingers, and I'm just like, this is amusing to me.
Yeah, it was very, very funny. So, as soon as she finally slips and falls, Prue's astral form goes right back to her body.
And we get... some nice shots of Amy Adams in green screen flailing her arms. It's like a full body shot, but clearly green screened where they just did a blur effect on the background.
Yeah, it was very funny.
And she's flailing her arms.
Yeah, and Prue, like, cries out, and then she uses her power...
and moves Maggie, and the only thing that happens is that the background blurs in a direction, and then suddenly she's landing on a very fucking dusty awning.
Yeah,
and
it was like a
off.
canopy awning.
For like a hotel or some shit.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was for,
maybe
but...
Maybe it was for the building next door.
It could have been...
Maybe it was from the apartment building.
Yeah, I think it might have been for the apartment building. But so she lands on this very, very dusty canopy, and then, like, rolls off of it and falls to the ground.
Which is still another, like, 10 feet.
Yeah. And is not harmed in any way. Because, of course not. And then,
like convenience.
Yes. And
actually, I like that jingle. A la convenience.
Yes. And so, like, everyone that was crowded around to watch her jump off the building has now seen her fall to the ground and
so
is
they're
crowding around her even more.
And Prue runs across the street and
she sees Prue...
Well, she...
like, through the crowd, and Prue, like, starts to walk toward her, and then she decides against it.
Well, Prue was kind of, like, a part of the big circle of people, but somehow there was a gap in the people.
Yeah, it was very weird.
She wasn't the closest person, but there was, like, a weird gap on the sidewalk, and Prue just, like, walks up into it, and then she sees that she gets recognized, and she's like, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah. So Maggie tries to call out to her, but Prue decides, fuck this, and she walks back to her car, and she passes the Darklighter on her way. And he is not happy about the situation. Like...
And the great bit is that he goes, well, of all the luck.
Yeah. And then we go to the opening credits, because...
And I love the way he delivers this, too. Because it could have been super fucking corny.
And it kind of wasn't.
It kind of wasn't, and I thank Imhotep for that.
So, when we come back from the opening credits, our post-credit song on the DVD is Lucky by Biff Naked. So let me tell you a little bit about Biff Naked. Beth Torbert was born June 15th, 1971 in India, but she is a Canadian singer-songwriter, actress, and motivational speaker. Her stage name is Biff Naked. Apparently the name Biff started as a nickname based on the mispronunciation of Beth. Because, of course it did. Why wouldn't it?
I mean, that actually tracks.
Literally the smallest amount of tangent I can go on because, like I said, I was sick when I did these notes. She has a ton of tattoos. She identifies as straight edge, which means that she doesn't drink or do drugs. And she also identifies as bisexual and as a vegan for health reasons, as opposed to any other reasons. She has had a heart aneurysm, which apparently was corrected by surgery, and she has had breast cancer.
And I like that you wrote this with an Oxford comma, because if you hadn't had it, that means that her heart aneurysm would have been fixed by surgery and breast cancer.
Yes, of course I used the Oxford comma. Oxford comma is life.
Yeah, you're not a monster.
Exactly. Use the Oxford comma,
At least
people.
not for that reason.
Yeah. I'm a monster for many other reasons. Anyway, so her life is very interesting. So as per usual, I will put the link to her wiki on the website for anyone who wants to read more about her. Because she's done some interesting shit. But I'm not going to tangent anymore because now we get to go on to the Netflix song.
Which I could identify by just listening, because it's one of those types of songs where you can tell where in the chorus the name of the song is going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, this is clearly called In the Rain.
Indeed, it is.
And if I'd had the patience to Google it, I probably would have.
It is by Ron Allen Cohen.
But it is not sung by him.
No, it is sung by a female, wasn't it?
Yes, a very breathy female who seemed like a bit of a jewel dupe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, a dupe in this context means a double.
Yeah.
Like, in makeup, you can have two different brands where they'll have extremely similar products. Mm-hmm. So you can always say, like, oh, well, this is a dupe for this really expensive makeup thing by this, like, upper-level brand.
Yeah. So,
Which makes it a lot easier to have really cheap makeup.
Yes. So, according to the single sentence on his wiki page, Ron Allen Cohen is an American television composer and soundtrack writer who graduated from California State University. That is literally all I could find.
Would you call that laughable?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would. I have no idea anything about the singer of the actual song because there was nothing to find. So, you know.
And was this hashtag not sponsored by Shazam?
This was indeed hashtag not sponsored by anything because I looked this up on the website.
Oh.
I actually didn't watch this one on DVD because I watched this on Netflix because I was sick. Yeah. And so I was in my bedroom and therefore was not watching the DVD on the big screen TV. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. This was an episode born of sickness for me. So, and I do enjoy, though, that this just shows a lot about my being sick and writing notes. I literally just have a line here that goes, Dan is in the credits. That's all it says.
Yeah.
That's all it says.
And so is Daryl.
Indeed. But I just thought it was funny that it was like, Dan is in the credits. That's it. There's no other.
And you were so sick you didn't mention Daryl.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Hey, you know, it's a thing sometimes.
White supremacy.
No.
Sick supremacy, more like.
Yeah. I was like, no, just, brain fart because sickness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, our lovely post-credits
Oh, man,
shots.
You really were sick. Guys, I'm reading her notes, and, like, you know how Kat normally does all of the description about the Golden Gate Bridge? Literally 4 lines, 1 sentence each.
Yep.
It is so bare bones. Like, I'm so glad she's well now.
I know, right?
Oh my god! Scene, manor, kitchen, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's called, I didn't change that from the original transcript. That's what that is, because I was not in the right mindset for any of this.
Oh man.
Yeah, so, okay, so.
If I stop commenting on how bare bones this is, we might actually get through this faster.
Exactly. So, let's go through my notes real quick. So, the scenes that we get, the shots that we get after the opening credits. We have cars driving down the Golden Gate Bridge that pans up to the buildings behind. We get a helicopter shot of the buildings, including the Triangle Building. Then we get a helicopter shot of Coit Tower, which is like an overhead shot. And then an exterior shot of the manor, which pans down through a tree.
I realize what the main difference is between your normal writing style and what this is. You omit subject.
What do you mean?
Like, when you write your notes normally, you're writing them in the style in which you are going to be delivering them.
Yeah, I usually
Which includes subject. So you would normally say, oh, we get to see some cars, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I write it like I'm writing, because I'm a voice actress. Mm-hmm. It's part of what I do in life. So I write it as I'm going to say it. Mm-hmm. And when I'm sick, I don't do that, apparently.
Yeah.
Because that takes too much mental effort. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I would never do all that prep because I would just fix it as I'm going.
Well, but you can also do, like, just write down a single thing and then remember what you were talking about with that single thing. Mm-hmm. And I can't do that. My brain doesn't work that way. So we have very different note styles. And it's very interesting to see that when I am sick, I have yet a different note style.
It's closer to mine, actually, if I were still taking notes, which I don't.
Yeah. But that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
No, my notes are basically, I just watched the episode as close to when we record as possible, so I can remember the offhand comments I make while watching.
Exactly. So, scene,
manor, kitchen. Piper's writing a letter.
Yeah. We see Piper.
She's got a pad of paper at least.
Yeah, we see Piper standing in the kitchen. She's wearing a shirt that is light blue on the front and white on the back, and a light blue skirt, which is a slightly different shade of light blue than the front of the shirt.
Correction, it is not a shirt. It is a spaghetti strap tank top.
Yes.
And we get to see some nice little bra straps. They are black.
Yeah, she's wearing a black bra. We see the straps. And her hair is in yet another one of those leather wraps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those ones with the little buttons.
The little snaps. Those will be a Piper feature.
Oh, so Piper.
For, I believe, the rest of this fucking show.
Possibly, although I cannot recall any from season 7 or 8.
Well, I can't recall season 7 or 8, so there you go.
There you go.
I just know that the leather-wrapped hairdo is a very much a Piper thing for, like, ever.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this season is when it started, because that's when they became a thing.
Yeah. And
I owned, like, 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think I still own at least one of them.
I definitely did not have any, but I was the person who would just get a bunch of hair bands and just, like, consecutively line them up. I'd do this in rainbow colors too, so it'd be really cool.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, she's just kind of standing at the kitchen island, like poking at a notepad with a pen.
Yeah.
Clearly unable to write anything.
Yeah.
And then Phoebe comes in the door, and she's dressed like a student.
Yeah, she is in
So you know she's in college.
Thanks for bringing that back.
You're welcome.
Nice.
Well, we don't actually get to go to the campus, so I can't use that line.
Very true. So she's wearing green pants with a shirt tied around her waist and a black crop top that has like an image of a fish on it, and it says Ming's Tattoo. I know that I did try to look up and see if Ming's Tattoo was a real thing, and I couldn't find anything other than there's a place in Mexico. Her hair is in low little fun buns.
Yeah, that's a Twitter handle. I know.
Okay.
No, well, no, Amanda Lund, her Twitter handle is Amanda Funbuns.
Okay.
Because why not?
Sure, why not? And because the black crop top is a crop top, we see her belly button ring, and she's also wearing a belly chain. It's like a necklace for your stomach.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, this is the only scene we see it in.
Wow. Weird.
Because she's not wearing
She must have taken
other...
it off when she put on the shirt. She's like, too much decor.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I just thought it was very, very funny that she had a belly chain on. And I'm just like, really? Okay, I forgot those were a thing. Whatever. Phoebe wonders why Piper isn't at the club doing inventory, and Piper says that she's trying to figure out what to say to Dan about Leo. And there's a bit of a back and forth, and then a cute sister moment where Piper's like, what would I do without you?
And Phoebe says, oh, suffer endlessly, no doubt.
Yeah,
which is where I fucking got this from. I've been using this for years, and I forgot about it.
Well, there you go. But she does it in, like, that adorably cute way. Like, oh, suffer endlessly, no doubt. You know, it's like that little, like, just, I'm going to be adorable right here. You know,
Yeah.
it was super duper cute. And then, you know, Piper grabs her purse and her coat, and they exchange love yous, and Piper leaves out the back door of the house to go to the club.
Yeah, and there was also a bit where Phoebe was like, don't try to predict the future, that's my job.
Yeah, it was cute.
You just follow your heart.
Yeah. It was a sweet moment. It was a cute moment. I liked it. So then, next scene, we are at the police station with no exterior shot.
And Daryl is walking Maggie down a hallway towards what we know is the bullpen.
Yeah, the main bit of the station.
Yes, the bullpen.
Yeah.
That's where all the desks go.
Yes. He is in a dark suit and a red shirt with a patterned red tie.
And he kind of pushes the door open, but when Maggie sees everyone in there, she stops.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I can't go in there. People got guns in there. Shit goes off around me.
Yeah.
And I would like that not to happen. But there's like, we got to do paperwork. Come on.
Yeah, it was a weird...
Not that unkindly, but...
No, like, but it was a weird scene when you think about it. She's like, you know, bad shit happens around me. There are guns in there because, you know, it's a police station. Maybe I shouldn't be around that. And he's like, well, you know, we have to do the cop thing. You have to come in here.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. We can protect you.
Yeah, and she, for a second, she's worried she's being arrested. But he's like, no, but we do have paperwork, which is much more important than being arrested.
Yeah. They walk into the room and they sit down at the desk that we have had Daryl at before, and this is the one against the wall.
Didn't it used to be Andy's, this one?
Yeah, this was the Andy, because it was Daryl and Andy's desks were against the wall for most of the thing, and then after Andy died, Daryl's desk was moved to the middle of the room, and now he's back against the wall again.
Yeah, whatever.
It was
continuity.
weird.
What is that?
Yeah. So they sit down, and she's still trying to get him to realize that no one can really help her, but he wants to know what happened, and after a bit of, roundabout talking, she mentions that an angel helped her.
And there's a brief moment where you see in his face, he's like, not what? That's crazy. And then he goes, but what if it's not? And he kind of like leans down and forward a little, like that meme of how you talk to a short person.
Yeah, and he's just like, so...
Except sitting.
Well,
and he's like, what did this angel look like?
Yeah.
And then we cut to Prue walking in the front door of the manor.
Yeah, it was very, very cute, the way that they cut that in. We see Phoebe walking into the foyer, coming up to Prue and asking about the interview. Prue tells her that about Maggie being on the roof and using her powers to save her, and then the phone rings. Prue answers it to Daryl, and
he's like, were you near this specific address this morning? Because Maggie Murphy claims she was saved by an angel that by her description bears no resemblance to Della Reese.
Yes. So, of course, I then had to look that up. This is a reference to a TV show called Touched by an Angel, which starred Roma
figured
Downey.
It probably was.
Yeah, Roma Downey, Della Reese, and John Dye. That's D-Y-E. It aired from 1994 to 2003, and the premise was 3 angels are sent to Earth to tell depressed and troubled people that God loves them and hasn't forgotten them. As you can tell, I never watched that show, but I know for a fact that the website for it was touched.com.
Oh, no.
And that made me laugh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, touched.com now gets redirected to something else.
Oh.
You all right?
It's just, that can go so wrong so easily.
It can indeed. But I know that touch.com now redirects to something else, which is still in the realm of
molestation hotline.
No, hold on.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing.
No, you really shouldn't. Touch.com now redirects to MarthaWilliamson.com, who is apparently a producer, writer, author, and speaker who worked on Touched by an Angel or wrote it or something. Anyway, I'm not going to tangent on the show because I really don't care a whole lot about it. But
we've mentioned it in the past anyway.
I think so, yeah. But I did find out that John Dye actually died in 2011 from heart failure.
The D-I-E version.
Yes. John died, D-Y-E, died, D-I-E. Yeah. Yeah. In 2011 from heart failure. But I found out that he has 2 brothers named Jamie and Jerry, and I had to bring that up just because I've never seen those names spelled that way before. Yeah. It's Jamie, Jamey.
And Jerry, Jerre.
Yeah, it was just very interesting.
Uh-huh.
So I'll link, to all the stuff on the website for anyone who wants to know more about the show or the actors. I'm not linking to touch.com. You can do that one your damn self.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Prue, of course, realizes that Maggie's description matched her.
Phoebe, for whatever reason, is milling about in the wardrobe that's in the hall right next to where the phone sits.
Yeah.
And she holds up a roll of film and she's like, Prue, what's on this? Because I guess, she doesn't really
care that Prue's on the phone in the middle of a conversation.
Well, granted, she doesn't know what's happening on the other side of that conversation, so she doesn't...
But still, she's interrupting this conversation to ask what's on a roll of film. I'm just saying, it was kind of rude. Little bit. Prue says that it's old photographs, and then she goes back to ignoring Phoebe and asks Daryl if Maggie is okay. We do a quick cut over to the police station where Daryl starts to say that they have to send Maggie for a psych eval because...
And like a 72-hour watch.
Yeah, because that's a thing. And
I've heard... I don't know whether it actually is, but I know it's definitely like a trope in TV shows.
The 5150?
No, I was going to say the 72-hour psych watch.
Yeah, that's a 5150.
Oh, is that the code for it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, cool.
I'm fairly certain. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after a suicide attempt, they have to be sent for a psych eval and a 72-hour watch.
Yep.
To make sure they don't try it again.
Exactly. So we see Maggie, as Daryl is talking on the phone, we see Maggie knock over a coat stand that lands on a bench, knocking over some plastic cups that fall all over the floor, and she's like apologizing. And then we go back to Daryl, who tells Prue to stay away from the station so that Maggie doesn't ID her, and he says that he'll keep her posted. So when we cut back to the manor, Prue, of course, hangs up and grabs her bag because she's going to ignore Gerald's warning and go see Maggie.
And for some reason, this requires her camera.
Yeah, there is
so
that.
Phoebe's like, I'll go with you. Something I learned in my psych class might help. So you know she's in college.
Yes. And then, because we can't stay in one place too long, we cut over to the exterior of P3. We get to see the small P3 sign on the wall, and we see a man in a tan uniform walking away from the closed doors of the club with a utility dolly and a clipboard. We also see Piper's car parked just outside to the right side of the screen.
Mm-hmm. We get in there, and we see Piper standing at the bar with, like, a clipboard and a pen, and Leo is sitting on the floor. He is
back into Leo mode. He is in
Yeah.
a white t-shirt under a plaid button-down.
And Piper is talking, but he's just staring at the bottom of her skirt, like, at her calves.
Yeah, he is so much staring at her
And
legs.
she's saying something about, how many fucking swizzle sticks do we have? And he's just zoning out because he can't stop staring at her legs.
Yeah, it was very funny. So, really quickly, just because I felt the need to tangent on it.
Even though you were sick?
Yeah, apparently. Even though I'm going to link to the wiki for Swizzle Sticks, I shall read you the entire paragraph that is on the wiki for Swizzle Sticks.
A whole paragraph?
It's a whole
That's more
paragraph.
than some of these actors got.
Exactly. So, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
A swizzle stick is a small stick used to hold fruit garnishes or stir drinks. The original swizzle sticks were created in the 18th century at a rum plantation in the West Indies. They were used to stir up Bermudan cocktails called rum swizzles and were made from the branch of a plant. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, stir sticks made of glass were created to shake the bubbles from champagne, whose carbonation caused indigestion for some drinkers.
I like how you put that in a different size font.
That's called cut and paste, my dear.
Oh, okay.
And then I just didn't default format any of this, as you can
But
see by the...
Swizzle sticks are somewhat similar to coffee straws.
Yeah, and the swizzle sticks that... Most swizzle sticks, when you think of a swizzle stick, are a single piece of plastic.
Yeah.
The swizzle sticks that we see here are more like little red straws.
They're basically little red straws.
Right. So, Leo has asked her if she's over-ordered.
And she's like, no,
they just overshipped.
There's a very awkward vibe between the two of them because she clearly sees that he was not listening to her, and she's a little distracted anyway.
Right.
So Leo hands up a couple of boxes of swizzle sticks.
And this is
She
my
grabs
favorite
one
moment.
in each hand.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. If you're watching this, you're going, that was poor acting. And I'm going to say it. I love Piper. I love Holly. But this was poor acting. He hands her up two boxes. She grabs the one in her left hand, which is perfectly fine. She grabs the one in her right hand.
And then shakes it.
And she shakes it and squeezes.
Yeah.
And then twists her fingers. Like you can physically see her make the bottom of that box drop out.
Uh-huh.
And it was poor acting because, or let me rephrase, it was poor prop making.
Yeah.
Because she should have been able to just grab it and make the bottom fall out instead of having to crush her fingers and twist. Mm-hmm. Just saying. It was a slight bit of poor acting, but it was mostly poor props.
Yeah. It was a gag.
Yes, it was a gag.
It was a very obvious gag.
It was a gag to make this whole situation slightly more awkward.
And guess what?
And it worked.
It's not the last time this gag happens.
No, it isn't. No. Anyway, so the bottom falls out of the box. There are lots of little tiny red plastic sticks laying on the floor. So, of course, Piper...
Straws, not sticks. But yeah.
Well, but...
I know they call them swizzle sticks, but they're fucking straws.
Yeah, they're tiny. They're really, really thin straws.
Even though swizzle stick is... I'm fairly sure I've used that as an insult before, but I can't remember how.
Okay. Anyway, Piper then kneels down and starts picking them up.
Or rather, Leo's picking them up and she's like swiping them into a pile.
Yeah. Leo looks at her and then asks if she's mad at him.
She does the, no, I'm not mad at you. Why would I be mad at you? Sort of thing.
And she then starts to say something about Dan, which of course makes Leo want to drop the whole conversation. And as they both kind of stand up, Piper says that Dan's going to be very upset when he finds out that Leo is the one that she really loves.
And yes, she says it like that.
Uh-huh. This, of course, makes Leo much happier, and then they start to kiss, but only for a moment, because Piper stops when she realizes that she really should break up with Dan before they start to canoodle.
And she's just like, okay, you
Count. Yeah.
Count.
Yeah. And then we cut back over to the police station. This time we get an exterior shot.
Yay!
Because of course.
And Imhotep walks all up in his lovely, lovely dark suit.
Yeah.
Peeks in the bullpen door.
Sees Maggie sitting on a bench.
Smiles, closes the door again. And as he turns, we see, like, the darky orbs. And then he's suddenly wearing a cop outfit. Like a beat cop outfit.
Yeah, he, like, spins in a circle outside the door. And, like, magically changes clothes.
Magical transformation, go!
Yeah. And then he walks in and he, like, sits down on top of a nearby desk and just kind of, like...
randomly picks up a file or some shit.
Yeah, like, stares at Maggie, like, fake looking at a file. And then Daryl walks in holding a cup of coffee.
Like one of those tiny cups of coffee that have the handles where they're like paper.
Yeah, attached
and they're like,
to the cup.
Yes, yeah. And you fold the two wings out and you get like a loop.
Yeah. So he's holding this cup and you can tell, at least from the viewpoint, that if there is any actual coffee in that cup, it is below our field of view.
Yeah.
Okay, just keep that in mind for the next few moments. So... he walks up to her, says he has coffee for her. She thanks him.
Dismisses the beat cop
who was sitting next to her.
watching her.
Yeah. He sits down next to her and tells her that he believes her about the angel. And she goes to take the cup of coffee out of his hand. And this is where, when we get the insert shot, the cup of coffee is nearly full to the brim. As, of course, she knocks it and spills it all over him.
All over his crotchular region.
Yes. He, of course, then jumps out of the chair. She apologizes repeatedly. And he gets up to, like, wipe himself off. Nobody wipes down the bench. Keep that in mind. Put a pin in that one. She tells him to stay away from her because people get hurt. And he just is like, I'm just going to go clean this up. I'll be back. And he walks off.
Prue and Phoebe, meanwhile, walk in.
And this is where Phoebe has taken off the shirt she had tied around her waist and has put it on and is wearing it. And we can now see that it is black with white tie-dye. It was kind of cool, actually.
It looked a little more navy to me.
Well, reminding you, I was watching Sick.
Yes.
So it might have been a navy, but I could have sworn it was black.
It looked more navy where the tie-dye was happening. Like, it was a really dark navy, but then, like, of course, when you bleach it, it bleeds out a little bit.
Right.
And granted, since black dye is either a very, very dark green or very, very dark red, like, blue, probably navy.
Yeah. Possibly. But yeah, it had a lovely little tie-dye circle on the back of it. Mm-hmm. It was...
like a little tie-dye concentric circle.
Yeah, it was a nice looking outfit. It wasn't too bad, that little jacket.
It worked very well for her student vibe, because, you know, she's the college student now.
Yep. Exactly.
And
because she's in college.
Yeah, I know. And they walk like halfway into the bullpen, and this is not a large room.
No, it's a really small room.
So they're like 10 feet from where she would be sitting if they were actually keeping to the physical dimensions of this goddamn room. Mm-hmm. They are not, though.
No, they are not.
Because they stand like not quite up against the wall. And if there were a reverse shot, you could probably see where she'd knocked over the hat rack, coat rack, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just, like, talking about her at full volume. Mm-hmm. Prue's like, that's her.
Yeah, she points her out to Phoebe, and Phoebe wonders, what are you going to say to her? And Prue thinks that she should just write a spell for Maggie to put some good luck back in her life.
And Phoebe, for some reason, the sensible one right now, is... it must be all those psychology courses.
Must be.
She's like, you can't keep using your powers to save her.
Which is kind of backwards from everything that we've learned so far, but whatever. Like, the whole point is that they're supposed to be able to use their powers to save people. Mm-hmm. But whatever.
This is a great shot where Amy Adams just, like, covers her face and leans back and starts stretching out her legs. And as a cop is walking by... and just fucking trips him.
Yeah.
He goes into the water cooler. The water cooler falls over. There's water everywhere. And then we see it go over to, like, some outlet. Like,
like some
an
cords and plugs and stuff
and
underneath the table. Yeah, and, like, knocks out one of the computers. It's a whole big thing. And
there's an
ADR line of like, thanks, lady, or something like that. It was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
And poor Amy Adams is just crestfallen.
Yeah. So, Prue asks Phoebe for help to write a spell. Phoebe says she doesn't need help as long as it comes from her heart. And then Prue comes up with her very first spell, on the spot instantaneously.
Well, remember, Phoebe was all complaining about how long it takes her to write a spell.
Mm-hmm. And then Prue just comes up with one.
Well, no. And then somehow Phoebe's like a fucking genius at doing this on the spot. So naturally, Prue
has got to be better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is her spell. From this moment on, your pain is erased, your bad luck as well. Enjoy your good luck, Maggie. You're free from this hell.
Yeah, the meter's a bit off.
It's not perfect, but it works.
I mean, it rhymes.
Yeah.
Which, as we know with spells, is...
And it's specific.
Yeah. The most important thing with most spells is that they rhyme, except when they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, they're not meant to rhyme because they're a haiku. Season 4, people. Season 4.
Spoilers.
Oh,
anyway.
Please, I'm telling you we get a haiku spell. That's not a fucking spoiler.
Just saying.
I'm not telling you what it does. I'm not telling you who wrote it. Just that we finally get a fucking haiku for a spell.
Yes. Anyway. So, 2 little white orbs come out of Prue's hand and float over to Maggie.
And Phoebe and Prue are both very surprised about this.
Mm-hmm, because this has never happened before where a spell has manifested itself this way.
Mm-hmm.
And as these little white orbs enter into Maggie, she kind of glows blue for a moment, and then she, starts to smile.
The
Darklighter, who is, again, just a few feet away, sitting on top of the desk, notices this, and he, gets up like he's gonna do something.
Because all those orbs were meant to do was for Imhotep to be able to track the fact that his shit's no longer working to Prue.
Right. But he gets up like he's going to do something, but then he just kind of stares at Prue and doesn't actually go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then Daryl walks back in, and he slips on the water that is now all over the floor and starts to fall into Maggie, who grabs him and stops him from falling.
Which very good acting on their part right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way Amy Adams would have been able to keep him from falling over.
None. Not even a little. Because she is tiny.
She's an adorable swizzle stick of a woman at this point.
Yes, she is stupid tiny. So he thanks her. She is, of course, surprised that she just helped him. And then he sits back down on the bench, right where the coffee was spilled that nobody cleaned up. So, and here's the other thing. There was coffee spilled, and now a big-ass jug of water has been spilled. So you know that bench is still wet.
Yeah.
And he still sits there anyway. Just saying. Just putting that out there.
Hi, Blue.
Yeah. Hi, boobers. So, Prue and Phoebe think that Maggie's luck is changing already, and they start walking toward the door. And
Imhotep's like, not so fucking fast.
Yeah.
And he just, shoots out a little,
beam of black orbs.
Black snowball thing.
Yeah. It hits Prue, and she kind of stops just as they get the door, and, does this, it was an almost invisible shake. You can tell that she does this little...
she just breathed in a little raggedy.
Yeah. And, Phoebe's like, you okay? She goes, yeah, it's just a chill. And then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do a quick cut out to the parking lot where the girls are getting into Prue's convertible. Phoebe is impressed by Prue's first spell, and this is where we learn that it took her a couple of tries to get one that actually worked.
As they're buckling up, safety first.
Indeed. Prue says that it must be her lucky day, and she puts the car into reverse, and then backs out of the parking space without even checking her mirror, and a police car runs straight into the back of them.
Mm-hmm. Phoebe hits her head on the dashboard somehow, despite being buckled up, and
gets completely knocked out.
Knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
She got whiplashed.
Yeah, and we hear...
And not just by being a drummer.
What?
The movie with J.K. Simmons. It came out 3 years ago. It was basically a white people's drumline. You remember that movie with Nick Cannon?
Oh, I remember Drumline.
Yeah. So, with white people, not my tempo.
Interesting. I will not be linking to that. Good luck. Anyway, we hear the drone of the car horn as Prue, tries to check on Phoebe, and we can see the Darklighter walk behind the car, and he's back in his suit.
He walk, literally behind their car, so... There's a gap between them and the police car because I guess they bounced that far. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of slyly says, "No, it's your turn to be cursed."
Yeah. So this is the second time that Prue has been in a car accident that we've seen, and the third time that her car has been in an accident that we've seen. The first time was back in season 1 in Dream Sorcerer when Prue crashed her car into a pole, and the second was when Phoebe backed her car into a pole in the Painted World. So this is the third accident, but the first time that it has not involved a pole.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, of course, the cop that hit her was
I was about to
Polish.
say, yeah.
Because you got to make that joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go to commercial break. When we come back from the commercial break, we get an exterior shot of P3, which is basically the same shot as before, but the guy in the uniform is gone. Inside, Piper and Leo are at the bar, and Leo's going a little stir-crazy at
With
the
all
thought
those swizzle sticks.
Yes. At the thought of having to wait to be with Piper now that she's professed her love, but she wants to wait until Dan gets back from out of town.
And I'm just like, Leo, you were a white lighter for 60 goddamn years. You can keep it in your pants for 1 week.
Yeah. My thought process on this was, you've waited this long. I understand you're mortal now, but you've waited this long, you can wait another week. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
dude. Go masturbate. Like, just, like, calm your tits.
Oh my god.
Just saying.
Just
So,
ugh.
Yeah, so we learn that Dan's out of town for a week. And before the conversation gets too much more awkward, Prue and Phoebe come down the stairs calling for Piper. I still want to know why they keep leaving that door unlocked when the club is closed. I'm just saying. Prue has her arm around Phoebe, and they say that, they got into a car accident because Prue wasn't looking. And apparently they went to the hospital before heading to the club, and we find that Phoebe has a mild concussion and a headache. Now, I have a question. What time is it supposed to be? Because they had time to get into this car wreck, which they had to fill out paperwork for. Mm-hmm. Because it was a police car, so they had to
at least the
fill out a police
were already
report.
there.
Yeah, but then they've gone to the hospital and seen a doctor, and now they're coming to the club. What time is it? We don't find out the time. The time is never explained.
Nope.
Just saying. So Phoebe says she has a mild concussion and a headache, and then Leo says, they should have some aspirin somewhere, and he goes to find some aspirin. Mm-hmm. But according to the IMDb goofs, apparently, as a former army medic, Leo should have been interested enough in modern medicine to know that it can be very dangerous to give aspirin to someone with a concussion, because, blood thinning is a thing. And even if he didn't know that, Phoebe's doctor at the hospital should have absolutely told her not to take any aspirin if she has a concussion.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So this entire thing is just an a la convenience plot point for a thing that will happen in a moment.
Yep.
So we get a little bit of back and forth of them chatting about stuff, and Phoebe
offhandedly
notices,
mentions to Piper that her lipstick is smeared.
even though it didn't look smeared, at all, but it's an a la convenience moment to show off the fact that Piper and Leo had been kissing.
Yeah, they all, Phoebe and Prue kind of read the room and they're like, her lipstick is smeared. She looks embarrassed and Leo is here. Oh, shit!
Uh-huh. So Leo comes back with the aspirin, and he holds it up to Prue, who goes to take it off of him, and she knocks over a box of swizzle sticks onto the floor. So there's our second little throwback to the swizzle stick falling.
Yeah.
Leo, of course, is just like, don't worry, I'll get it, which I thought was funny. And Prue's like, I'm being such a klutz, I wonder if my spell backfired. But Phoebe says there was no personal gain, so that's not possible. Mm-hmm. Piper, of course, asks what spell was cast, but Prue's phone rings, breaking the moment. And so she answers it, and it is Mr. Corso again, who wants to know what's up. She walks away to talk to him, and this is when Phoebe tells Piper and Leo about Prue's new photography gig with Maggie Murphy.
Leo apparently has been watching a lot of TV because he recognizes that name.
From a TV report.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Piper looked a little bit, jealous looking that he knew who she was. It was a little odd, the facial, how do you know this woman? Why is this a thing that you know?
It was very, she was jealous that he has interests.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little weird.
It was surprise mixed with a little bit of, there's no way you could possibly know that, because you were born in, the 20s.
Yeah, it was a little odd.
Yeah.
But Phoebe says that Prue cast a spell on Maggie to turn her luck around after saving Maggie from jumping off a roof. This is when Prue comes back, saying that she needs to get the picture of Maggie to Mr. Corso, or she'll lose her brand new career. Mm-hmm. So this is again where I ask about the time, because she was supposed to get that picture to him by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is it past 5 o'clock? Why is he calling her?
I don't think it's past 5 o'clock.
I don't think it is either. So why is he calling her?
Well, dude, it's probably 2 o'clock, and he's just like, hey, I'm checking in.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway, Prue decides that she's got to stop by the house first for some nebulous reason, turns to leave, and guess what? There's a tiny little, not a table, but like one of those stands for waiters to put like the trays on. A tray stand.
Filled with glasses, because of course it is.
Piled with them.
Yeah.
Wine glasses, Beachy Dubs.
Yeah, she knocks it over. Piper, of course, freezes them all before they hit the ground.
And then tells them to leave.
Yeah, she's like, just, just go. It's fine.
Phoebe's like, give me the keys, I'm driving the rental. You did not get collision insurance.
Yeah, it was very funny. Though I did think it interesting that there was an IMDb thing where it said that when Piper froze the room, Leo didn't freeze, even though he should have because he's mortal. And I looked at that IMDb goof and I was like, no, you moron, she didn't freeze the room, she froze the table.
Yeah. Like, Piper can aim.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
She's got focus.
Yeah.
She's a business lady. She got focus.
So as Phoebe and Prue leave, Piper just
sighs.
Yeah, she sighs and just unfreezes the glasses, letting them fall to the floor and crash and break.
She's just like, it's not worth the personal gain.
Yeah, it was just very funny that it was just like, fuck it. I think, whatever.
Honestly, like, that seems to be a move just for Prue's solace, I guess. Like, she froze them so Prue wouldn't think she'd actually damaged anything.
Yeah.
And because it's a reflex. And she's like, well, Prue's out of the room, so she's not going to see their smash. She's not going to feel bad. And this is personal gain, so...
Yeah, I'm not going to, it doesn't matter. We're doing inventory. I'll just get new glasses. Whatever.
Fewer glasses to count.
Exactly. So...
And certainly not as many potato peelers. Callbacks.
Callbacks. Deep cuts. Deep cuts.
So, well, not that deep. It's a potato peeler.
Yeah.
Leo just kind of looks at the broken glass on the floor, and it seems to start this thought in his head, and he's like, something might have happened to Maggie that made her life go to hell.
she
Because
was
doing
like a dark lighter.
Yeah, because she was doing all this good shit.
Yeah.
And he's got experience brain.
Yeah, he has even though he is mortal now, he was a white lighter long enough to be like, there's some shit happen here. Hey, maybe it's a dark lighter thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we cut to an exterior of what looks to be a hospital of some type. There's an ambulance parked out front, and a woman is pushing someone in a wheelchair, which is why it looks like a hospital.
So that's how you know we're in a hospital.
There you go. Inside, we see Maggie helping a woman down the corridor. She's being all smiley and bubbly.
Talking about, sunshine.
Yeah. So this is how we know that we are now in a mental hospital, because Maggie has been taken for the psych eval on the 72-hour hold. This means we're in a mental hospital.
Or at least in a hospital with a generous mental ward.
Yes. So we then, as we see this, we cut outside, still in this hospital, but just outside this room that Maggie is walking in.
Like in a hallway of some sort.
Yeah.
And there's Prue and Phoebe, who are listening to a familiar-sounding man in a doctor's coat tell them about Maggie's remarkable recovery.
Yeah.
And as we pan around them...
As he's saying that her recovery is only temporary...
We see it's Imhotep!
Yeah, we see that it is our dark lighter, and because they have now passed him... At least Prue has passed him twice and somehow not recognized him at all. She does not pay attention to her surroundings.
Well... Also, I'm pretty sure it's just part of his power to be... it's kind of like a perception-y filter thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think... I'm just going with Prue is not perceptive of her surroundings.
I know, but, think of how, he does his thing. He stands literally right behind people, but people never know he's fucking there while he's, chatting them into suicide. So, I think that's probably part of his deal. Where people just, aren't going to notice him until he decides to turn that off.
Yeah, maybe.
Generally.
Anyway, he's telling them that someone who has been in the deep, dark place of depression never truly recovers from that.
And I'm telling Phoebe, who is very skeptical about this, mind you, that she should probably, go find his supervisor. Go find the hospital board. This man should not be practicing medicine.
Well, there is that.
Because he's, being super fucking downer.
Well, yeah.
In a dangerous way.
Yeah, a little bit.
And
so,
Phoebe's trying to pull the I've taken a psychology class thing, but in a helpful way.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't believe that. And he's like, are you a psychiatrist? Bitch, neither are you.
Well, yeah.
And she's like, no, but I still don't believe it. At least she doesn't pull the, no, but I've taken a psychology class line.
So he, of course, presses on with his message of despair. And Prue asks if they can see Maggie, and he just kind of points them toward the door. Mm-hmm. And this is how you know he's a fake doctor, because a normal doctor wouldn't just point you toward the door. They'd walk with you. Just saying. So they walk down the corridor, and as they get to the door, the Darklighter, like, flings some black orbs at Prue's camera bag, and then he disappears. But I love the way that he disappears. He does a quick glance around to make sure nobody's watching before he goes away in orb form. It was a nice little touch of, like, no one's around? All right.
No one's looking directly at me? Great. I'll just throw up that perception filter and get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. So Prue and Phoebe walk up to Maggie. Prue introduces herself and then Phoebe, and they ask how she's doing. And after a little bit of idle chat...
There's a great line, because Maggie's like, my angel. 2 angels. And Phoebe's like, no, I'm just a student.
Yeah, it was cute. So after a little bit of idle chat...
So you know she's in college.
Yes. So after a little bit of their idle chat, Maggie notices Prue's camera bag and asks if she's a photographer. And this is where we learn that the place that Prue got the job is 415 Magazine. I looked it up. It's not a real thing. Mm-hmm. Maggie remembers, yes, they're doing an article on her, and asks if that's why Prue had been at her place that morning.
And for some reason, Prue seems like vaguely embarrassed about the fact that she wasn't there specifically to save Maggie.
Yeah, it was like it was an odd little thing.
Like, I'm a fraud because I was there to take your photo. Never mind the fact that I saved your goddamn life.
Yeah. So there's, again, a little bit more chat, and then Prue gets Maggie to sit into a chair so that she can take pictures.
And I'm just like, why is she not putting this by a window? Like, natural lighting?
Yeah.
What? You're a photographer, Prue.
Yeah, she literally sits this chair in the middle of the hallway with people just randomly walking behind.
Yeah, in the middle of this big room, right in front of the door to the hallway.
Yeah, it was...
So there's gonna be people, like, walking behind her and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, this is not good.
No,
what?
It was not a good camera setup at all, but that's neither here nor there. I'll come back to the camera setup in a second. So, Phoebe brings up her psychology class, asks Maggie, what happened, that she found herself on the ledge, and Maggie says that she kept hearing a voice in her head telling her that she was hurting people instead of helping them, and that everything was her fault, and she felt like she was cursed.
For some reason, this picks up Phoebe's, like, super sense.
Yeah.
I'll call it her spidey sense.
Her premonition sense.
This tickles her premonition web.
Yes. It kind of sticks with her.
She kind of mumbles to herself a little bit as Prue finishes taking pictures, or finishes taking enough pictures that she feels like she can get out of there. Right. Because everything the doctor has said and everything Maggie is saying is really getting to her at this point.
Yeah, it really is. But my favorite is that we get, as Phoebe is, like, talking to herself, we get these insert shots of these pictures that Prue is taking, and they are all close-ups of Maggie's face.
Yeah.
And, like, you look at this and reminding you that this is the very beginning of the digital photography age here. They're not the best of pictures because she's in the middle of a word when she takes, like...
She's in fluorescent lighting.
Well, there is that. The lighting in the setting is bad, but it's just the fact of when you're taking a picture of someone as they're talking...
Yeah.
You're not going to get a good picture of them.
Nope.
It's not going to happen. But Prue apparently thinks she's got a good enough picture. And she's like, I have to get these back to the magazine. So she asks Phoebe to take a cab and take her camera bag home. So she's only taking her camera with the one little memory stick in it or whatever.
And it was like a really large memory card, honestly. It looked like she pulled out the camera battery.
Yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. She says goodbye to Maggie. She walks off. And then we cut to an exterior shot of the manor that kind of like pans up from the ground. So we are now changing scenes yet again, leaving Phoebe with Maggie inside the house. And the reason that we pan up is because we have to show that we're in the attic. I've noticed this. This is how they do, is if they're in the living room, the camera will like pan down or pan to the side and end like somewhere around the front door area. Mm-hmm. If they're in the attic, the camera will pan up and end on the upstairs of the house.
It is interesting.
Yeah, it's a nice little visual.
It's funny that they can get that.
But they can't,
get
continuity. Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
I know.
Which just goes to show, the camera people are the skilled ones. The editors are the ones who need a bit more attention or a little more help, possibly.
Yeah, they need to go back to editing school. Anyway,
someone needs to be paying closer attention to the dailies.
There is that. So inside we see Piper and Leo in the attic. They're looking through the Book of Shadows. Leo is still in the same outfit as before. We can now see that he has paired that with jeans. But Piper has changed her clothes. Now, she was in a skirt before. She is now wearing black pants and a red button-down shirt.
And her hair's down.
Yeah, and her hair is down. But I think it's very interesting that she's like, Leo is stuck staring at my legs. I'm going to go put on pants. You know? Like, all right. I really think, this is only my own headcanon, but I really think that at some point during this time frame that we haven't seen them, that she must have spilled something on herself. In all of the awkwardness of things, she had to have spilled something on herself, and that's why she changed clothes.
Maybe on purpose.
Because, like, why else would she randomly change clothes in the middle of the day?
Honestly, she was wearing a skirt and a tank top that was not exactly the highest cut. So, with the awkward thing, like, with Leo, I can feel just like, I need to.
Yeah, so she totally changed outfits.
Sometimes, like, when you're just at home and you're not wearing a bra, and then you want to go out and you're like, I don't feel quite comfortable not wearing a bra in public, so I'm gonna put one on.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like you do.
Mm-hmm. Whereas sometimes if I'm just walking the dog, fuck it, I don't need no bra. Shirt, yes, bra.
Yes. Anyway.
Piper mentions that there's apparently a whole section on Darklighters somewhere in the book, because, with all of the number of times they've read this damn thing.
Yeah. And Leo says that someone really should index the book.
The phone rings, and Leo's like, oh, that might be Prue. So Piper answers it very urgently, like, hello, Prue? And it's Dan.
Yeah. He's like, no, it's Dan. And then we get a funny moment where Dan asks if she missed him. And Leo motions to Piper, do you want me to leave the room? And Piper says out loud, no,
but
to
kind of
Leo.
Soft.
Yeah, to Leo.
And
which
Dan's
confuses
like,
Dan. He goes,
what?
Really?
So Piper says she was talking to the cat.
Yeah, it's like, oh, right, they're supposed to have a cat. How long has it been since we've seen this cat or it's been mentioned? It's been a while. It's been a while.
Maybe she's in the kitchen.
Oh, bad.
You're welcome.
Bad. We see Dan supposedly in a hotel in New York.
Where it is dark out.
Well, yeah, it's 3 hours later, so there's that.
It's 3 hours later, but we still have no idea what time it is.
True, but, whatever. He is in a gray V-neck sweater over a black shirt.
And he's holding a beige phone.
Yeah.
He's clearly picked up from the tabletop.
Yeah. He says that he has a weird feeling that something is going on with Piper that she's not telling him because she doesn't want to ruin his trip.
And she's so distracted by Leo that she's not really listening and just asks Dan if they can talk when he gets back.
Yeah.
So he's like, you don't have to pick me up at the airport. I'll just catch a cab and we can go out to dinner. And Piper, still not quite paying full attention, she's like, great, bye.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. She, they say their goodbyes, she hangs up, and she then notices Leo is still kind of staring at her, and she's like, I really am going to break up with him, but I just can't do it over the phone when he's 3,000 miles away.
And I'm just like, sweetie, you don't owe him an explanation right now. You really don't.
But Leo says that he's glad that she's the kind of person that would give him that kind of respect. And then he turns her attention back to the Book of Shadows.
And he's like, we got a problem. And he spins it around on the stand.
Yeah.
And shows her a page that has various types of Darklighter with like a one sentence descriptor.
It was various types of creatures. Because I believe there was a ghost in there. There was something else. Hold on.
See, if you'd been taking photos, we would know this shit.
Fuck off. You have a TV and the DVDs too. Just saying. So the page that is shows a demon, a Darklighter, and a ghost. So of course the one that we are supposed to see is the Spirit Killer.
And how is this supposed to be a section on Darklighters when it's mixed up with other things? Like,
yeah, who knows?
Yeah, all of these things are spirit something.
Yeah. So we have Spirit Killer, Classification Darklighter, whose method is forces good souls into suicide through telepathic suggestion. Very dangerous.
And I'm loving the person who in props who did this page, because it is pretty well done. Like, not only is the text, like, kind of minimally illuminated, like there's a border and shit, and they distress the page. They gave it, like, fake water damage. Like, this is some good shit.
Yeah.
I like it. And the font is consistent, and it's very clearly written, not printed.
Yes. It
So
is
yes,
indeed.
Great job. Props.
Indeed.
Props to props.
Yes. So, Piper, of course, is not excited about this brand new news
And
that
nor
our
should she
Darklighter
be.
is a spirit killer. And then, because we can't stay in one place too long,
We cut back to 415 Magazine.
Yep.
Where Mr. Corso is, like, super pissed about Prue's photos. He's looking at these printouts, and they're all pixelated.
yeah, like super duper pixelated.
Which, mind you, is a technological issue. There is no way Prue would have been able to do that herself.
And-
so his anger is very, very confusing to me. He's like, well, these turned out to be shit. Like, you've got a shit camera.
Well, but see, here's the thing. As Prue says that the pictures looked fine in the camera.
And of course they did.
Right. So, if he was smart, he would have been like, well, then they must have gotten corrupted between the time you took the pictures and the time we put them on the computer to print them out.
But for some
But,
reason,
of course-
he's jumped straight into, like, super fucking pissy mode. And he's like, well, now we don't have a picture. And he calls her a fraud. And she
Yeah.
tries to, like, interrupt him. But, of course, the mood she's in, she's not thinking too clearly. So she's not, like, in her normal, like, rational sort of...
Thought process.
Yeah, thought process. And he does that line where he's like, you're fired. No, you're worse than fired. And he's like, I'll make sure no one ever hires you again. I'm like, because her camera malfunctioned? Like,
Yeah, it
how
was...
fucking petty do you have to be? Are you Miranda Priestley? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it was very much an over-the-top, like, crazy reaction, and there was no reason for him to react that way.
Absolutely fucking none.
But, you know,
So Prue...
Prue, like, leaves, she goes out into the hallway, she kind of stops, puts her hand against the wall, she's trying to compose herself, like, you know, it's okay, it's not my fault, I'll deal with this, I'll make it right, everything will be fine. And then, of course, our Darklighter, our spirit killer, appears behind her, telling her, in her own head, that everything's her fault. She, puts all sorts of, like, bad thoughts into her head, and as she walks out of the frame, he follows behind her, and then we cut to Phoebe coming through the front door of the manor.
Yeah. Piper and Leo are coming down the stairs, and they're like, hey, where's Prue? Phoebe's like, oh, she's probably still at the magazine. Why? And so Leo tells her about the Darklighter shit, and Piper picks up the phone to presumably dial Prue. There's a little bit of exposition from Leo that apparently the only way, well, not the only, but
he
the only
says
way
the only way
to keep a white lighter from becoming one, other than impregnating them, guys, callbacks, is to have them take their own life and lose their souls forever.
Yeah.
Which is a little Christian for this Wicca show.
Yeah, there's a lot of Christian overtones
Well,
in all of
always,
this.
Always.
And, yeah. So, Phoebe thinks that what the Darklighter is doing is murder, but, according to Leo, since the Darklighter only compels their victims to jump instead of actually pushing them, it's technically not murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Piper is having zero luck getting Prue on her cell.
Mm-hmm. And Leo realizes that the Darklighter is now after Prue because once Prue dies, then her good luck spell dies, leaving Maggie once again unprotected. Because apparently that's how that works.
Well, no. We know if there's a spell that a witch casts and she dies, it ends. Because that's how the binding spell on them stopped. Grams died.
Right, but I didn't think all spells work that way. Just saying.
Curses probably don't work that way, but I think spells probably do. Like, just based on what I'm thinking. Because, like, the whole curse with Phoebe in her past life, that continued through the deaths of everyone. Because
True.
it was designed to.
True.
But because this one wasn't given a time limit, or wasn't given an infinite time limit, rather, it would naturally end if Prue died, because she's the one who provided the spell.
I guess so.
It makes sense to me, is what I'm saying.
Okay. I'll allow it.
Good.
Anyway, so Phoebe says that he's not going to get to Prue, and then she puts Prue's camera bag into the wardrobe in the hall. And Piper is saying, that the Darklighter can make Prue think whatever he wants.
So Phoebe tries to contradict her and be like, Prue's too strong for that. But, oh, look, a tiny roll of film that Phoebe asked about earlier has fallen onto the floor, and now Phoebe must pick it up, and hey, it's a premonition!
Yeah. We have a premonition of Prue when she's younger, and we know that she's younger because she's got bangs.
And a bandana, and it's in black and white with a soft focus filter.
Yes, and we see her on the bridge. She has a lovely little bandana in her hair. She's got the fur lapel jacket. She's holding her camera and crying. Oh, and the background of the bridge view is most definitely downtown LA. Just putting that out there.
It's probably over, like, the 405 or something. Well, no, that looks like a smaller highway, so it's not the 405.
Yeah, I have no idea what highway it's under.
Probably like the 1.
I have no idea what highway it's over, but it is most definitely pointing it downtown LA.
Yeah.
So we come out of the premonition, and Phoebe realizes that they're right, that they have to get to Prue, and we go to commercial break, because of course we do. When we come back from commercial break, we get a quick exterior shot of the manor before we head back inside, where Phoebe is still trying to call Prue's cell, but it's not going through.
It's saying that she's not in the calling area. And she's like, she is so in the calling area.
Yeah, it was very
funny.
funny.
Which is apparently where I got that from.
Yeah. Because, that used to be a thing with cell phones, is because there weren't a lot of towers. If you weren't near a tower, then you weren't in a calling area and you couldn't get a signal. So we also learned that she apparently left the magazine half an hour before. We still don't know what time it is, but there you go. It's still light enough outside that it's probably not 5 o'clock.
Nope.
Just saying.
Piper asks if Phoebe's sure her vision was from the past, and Phoebe's like, yeah, I'm positive. It was in black and white. No, but no. She says Prue looked like she was around 20. It was probably around that time they had that other accident.
Yeah, that other
what
car
other
accident,
you may ask? Well, we alluded to it earlier in the episode when Prue was like, at least I didn't put you in the hospital again.
Yeah. So apparently, a few years prior, Prue was driving...
8 years, to be specific.
Yep. Prue was driving, ran through a red light, put Phoebe in the hospital for a week, and, scared the crap out of everybody. Phoebe says that Prue never forgave herself, and when Leo asks why, Piper says that she and Phoebe were teenagers at the time, and Grams was extremely overprotective. Apparently, Grams wouldn't let Prue go away to school because, she wanted to go back east and become a photojournalist. And it finally dawns on Piper that Grams knew they were going to become witches and didn't want anything to jeopardize that.
Yeah. Phoebe...
Though I don't understand why Prue going to New York and becoming a photojournalist would stop them from being witches.
It wouldn't, but she wanted to keep them all as close to home as possible.
I guess.
Also,
but
when your greatest ally in raising 3 children is one of the children, you might not want to lose that.
Yeah,
because also, here's the other adult who can definitely drive and do other things adults can do, because neither of the other two can yet do that, because Piper would have been about 17, and Phoebe would have been, 15.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you want a designated driver.
Yeah.
And you need someone else who probably is going to bring a little more income into the house, because the other two are still in high school.
True.
Although Prue would have been in college, so, yeah.
Anyway, so Phoebe says that, that she thinks that Prue would never commit suicide, and that even though her premonition was Prue being sad on a bridge, that doesn't mean that she was actually going to jump.
But Leo reminds her that the Darklighter is going to make her think she was going to.
Yeah, and he's going to mess with her head and bring her back to that dark place and try and get her to jump now. So Piper asks how they can find the Darklighter, and Leo says that they can't without a White Lighter because, White Lighters and Darklighters can sense each other. And
Callbacks!
Yeah, and we get this little moment of Leo being like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
You can see it visually in his face. He's like, well, if I was a White Lighter, I'd be able to help, but I'm not, so I can't. And then the phone rings. Phoebe answers it, and it's Prue, and we get to see Prue sitting in a white rental car, which apparently won't start. And we get, cut back and forth between Phoebe and Prue in this scene.
We see some kind of green space behind her and a vague dark outline of Imhotep in the rear window.
We see a very, very blurry image.
I'm tracing him with my finger.
Yes. We see a blurry image.
His head.
Here, I'll trace with you. There you go. We see a blurry image of him standing behind the car, but Prue, of course, doesn't recognize that he's there. And they try to talk over the phone, but there's, of course, static, and then there's, weird music playing.
And, another voice or something.
Yeah, it was super weird.
And Prue tells Phoebe that she lost the job, and the car won't start, and everything's this day just sucks.
Yeah, and I love how Leo, kind of looks over at Phoebe and is like, don't forget to mention the Darklighter.
And Phoebe's like, I'm fucking trying over here.
Yeah.
But then there's just, more static.
There's way too much static.
And the Darklighter throws some more Orbeez right at the phone.
Yeah, and of course, the focus, that's the best part, is, the focus shifts
we get
from
a little
Prue.
tilt shift.
Yeah.
Well, not tilt shift. What's it? There's a specific word for a camera that has... whatever. I don't know.
We get a shift where the focus shifts from Prue to the Darklighter standing behind the car, and he throws some black orbs at Prue's phone,
and then it goes completely to static, and there is no more call.
Yeah, and then it just completely dies, and Phoebe realizes that the call is dropped, and Prue hangs up, and she gets out of the car.
The Darklighter orbs out, and then as she's walking.
As
Orbs
she walks,
back in behind her.
as she walks away from the car, he orbs back in.
Which is how I think it matters, because as long as no one looks directly at him, he can pretend to not be there. He can make sure they don't look at him.
Yeah, maybe.
But if he is in their direct line of sight and he is focused on, then he can't shut them out.
Yeah,
I think that's why he had to orb out and back in. Because if he were just invisible to her, then he wouldn't have to do that.
Right. But that's where I say that she has passed his form at least twice and hasn't noticed that he looked familiar.
Well,
just
yes,
saying.
but the other times he was in a room with other people.
I'm just saying.
Where there's plausibility that he can be a part of the room or the crowd or whatever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be unexpected to see a random dude in a dark suit amongst business people crowded around a lady who has just fallen from a building. It would not be unexpected for a guy in a beat cop outfit to be in a police station.
I guess so, but I'm,
Even if she doesn't recognize him, your brain might not key in on that right away. But it's a deserted street in the middle of the day, there's no one else around, single person, you're gonna focus on him.
I guess. Anyway, so as she walks down the road, we can see that her car, this lovely rental car, is parked on the side of a residential street. It's only about a foot away from the curb, but it's at a slight angle.
Yeah.
So you know that it was an accidental parking job. It wasn't a...
it cut out and she had to coast to a stop, and this was how she ended.
Yeah. But so she's walking down the middle of the street. The Darklighter comes back as she passes by him, and then he starts to follow her. And then we cut back to the manor, where the girls are trying to figure out how are they going to find Prue. Leo mentions that they could try scrying for her.
But Phoebe's like, there isn't enough time. And I'm like, what's time? You get a map and a pendulum.
Yeah, so instead of taking the time to pull out the map and a pendulum and scry, they decide they can use some of Maggie's good luck, and they go running outside to the car.
As if that wouldn't take more time than finding a goddamn pendulum.
Yeah, because you know that they've done the scrying thing before. They have it already. Mm-hmm. They haven't done it since, but
chances
they have.
are she's going to be somewhere in between the magazine and home.
Yeah, and I love how Phoebe's like, she could be anywhere. No, she really can't, sweetheart. It hasn't been that long. She left the magazine half an hour ago.
An electron?
But here's the thing. She left the magazine half an hour ago, and the car broke down. So take where the magazine is. Go where you
can drive in
half an hour drive. It's really not that big a
given
deal.
San Francisco, ain't far.
No, it really isn't. But whatever. Leo, of course, is like, I'll go with you, but Piper tells him to stay at the house in case Prue comes back, and when he tries to object...
She makes the point that, white lighters and dark lighters can sense each other, and Imhotep might recognize him.
Yeah, she doesn't want him to get recognized. And Leo, of course, being Leo, says that he hates not being able to help. And then
Like
Piper...
you've been able to help the last 2 months?
Well, Piper, like, puts her hand on his face and says that she's sorry, and then she goes to join Phoebe in the car. And we cut back to Prue, who's now walking down the sidewalk with the Dark Lighter following her. And he's again putting more dark thoughts into her head, because that's what he does. He is a spirit killer, after all.
And she's trying to talk to herself and be like, I'm a good person, I do good things.
Yeah.
And then he spots a skateboarder, like, skateboarding down a sidewalk.
Yeah, like on the other side of the street.
And so he flicks some Orbeez at him and makes the skateboard kind of lose control. Prue tracks where his path is going and sees a lady with a stroller.
Yeah, like a baby in a carriage.
Pram. It's a fucking pram.
Yeah.
And
so instead of just being like, hey dude, look out,
yeah,
she uses her
swipes.
power
Yeah.
to fling him into the street
Where there's a car.
Yeah, he rolls right in front of a car, falls down, hits the sidewalk.
And,
like,
well, actually, I think it's a truck. And then
yeah, I think it was like a pickup truck.
Yeah, you get
like,
to see the truck like bounce over the skateboard, which miraculously doesn't break.
So the guy doesn't get hit, but he's like laying in the street, and the driver of this pickup truck gets out of the car to check on him.
And he's kind of got his butt in the air a little bit, like his hip got hurt.
Yeah, and Prue like starts to go toward him, and then she stops herself, and the Dark Lighter puts even more dark thoughts of like, I could have gotten him killed, and then tells her to run, and she does.
Then we cut to Maggie back at the hospital, who is in a like actual room, like a hospital room, playing gin rummy
with the same woman that she was walking down the corridor with.
She says her name at some point, but she's like,
Yeah.
Gin, that's really good, Mrs. S. something.
Yeah. So I'm not going to tangent on it, but I had to look up Gin Rummy. I'll leave the link for anyone who wants to learn the rules for the game. It's a 2-player card game. It's really not that big a deal.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Piper and Phoebe walk into the room, and Phoebe's like, hey, you remember me? Does not introduce her sister at all.
Nope.
And Piper's got, like, this weird attitude going.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Where she's just, like, smug? It was a bit smug.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was like those times when she's been talking with evil people. Or, like, bad people.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of like, yeah, she's smug. And they're like, oh, we need you to help find Prue. They take
your angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite, was we need you to help find your angel.
Yeah. And they walk outside and they unfold a large road map of the city, like one of those plastic road maps, and ask her to point at it. Maggie's
Just point
like,
anywhere. And she's like, I don't know how that's going to help. But Phoebe's like, trust me, it'll help.
Yeah, Maggie closes her eyes. There's a bit of twinkly music, and she points at the map, and there's like a little loop-de-doo road thing.
Yeah.
Right there. Piper and Phoebe look at it, like they kind of look over the map, and then they turn around, they look at the map, and they're like, oh good, it's close. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, and with no explanation. They're just like, okay, that's awesome, thanks so much, see ya, and they just leave her there.
And this is the last time we see Maggie. Really.
Yeah. In person, at least.
And I had remembered her having a larger role in this episode.
Nope.
She does not.
She does not. But we're almost to the end of the episode.
Uh-huh.
So that's the other thing. Is like, this episode goes by super fast.
Mm-hmm.
While we're talking about it, while we're doing it, like, it's a super fast episode, even though it's the same length as everything else.
I know, right?
So
we cut back to the manor.
Yeah, we get a quick cut.
Leo's walking around like the foyer of the manor, sits on he pounds his hand against the banister and then like sits down on the stairs and he's looking really
super frustrated. Yeah, like it's one of those where like you can tell like he sits down on the steps, he's looking really frustrated, and you can tell he's trying to form like some sort of plan or something. Like, what can I do to help? How can I do this? Why am I just sitting here? That sort of thing. And then we cut back to Piper and Phoebe, who are in the car, and Phoebe is like staring at the map. And then we cut to Prue, because, can't stay in one place too long. There's lots of quick cuts in this moment.
Yeah. Prue comes up around like a bend in like an intersection in a road, and she looks up and, hey, look, it's the bridge.
Yeah, she sees the bridge.
And Imhotep behind her is like, oh, hey,
there's
we should have
bridge.
done this long ago.
Yeah, we should have jumped off this bridge ages ago. And then we go to commercial break, our final commercial break
of the episode.
Yeah. And when we come back, we are now on the bridge, and we kind of like pan up from the cars driving underneath it.
Prue walks over to the railing, and Imhotep is still putting like all those thoughts in her head and telling her that if she had jumped 8 years earlier, Andy would still be alive. Prue starts crying.
Yeah, she immediately starts crying because she's remembering Andy as the Darklighter is telling her to jump. And she walks closer to the edge of the bridge, and we can see that the railing on this bridge is like
pretty high. It's like chest height.
Yeah, it's a high railing, and it's stupid thick. There's like it's a really thick cylinder, like railing.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way that you can accidentally fall over this thing. Like, you have to actively climb over the top to do it. Just saying.
Yeah, so we cut to the attic, and Leo's, like, flipping through the end of the Book of Shadows. He's getting real angry. He's not finding anything. He runs his hands through his hair in the most dramatic fashion possible. And like, just kind of starts screaming up to the ceiling that he wants his powers back.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sorry, Brian, like, this is not good.
It was the most overdramatic we have ever seen Leo. And it's the funniest moment, but it's also, like, the most heartbreaking because...
It's not funny because it was designed to be funny, it's
not funny, haha. It's funny, awkward.
Yeah.
So he's, yelling up at the ceiling that, he doesn't want to lose Piper, but he can't keep being mortal if it means not being able to help. And he begs for his wings back.
And he kind of sits down.
Yeah, he like sits down on a trunk, I think, that was on the ground. And he just kind of stares at his hand.
And first, there's a light CG outline around his hand, and then someone turns on a nice golden light in the background and shines the spotlight on his hand, and you get a little bit of CGI reflection in his eyes, and hey, he's got his powers back.
Yeah, he starts glowing, and it's a beautiful thing. And then
we cut to Phoebe and Piper as they're pulling the car to a stop and get out, right where Prue had stopped to look up at the bridge.
Yeah, so that is where Maggie pointed to. But of course, they aren't seeing Prue, and then Piper, in her infinite wisdom, turns around and looks up.
Well, yeah, we get a little shot where they're standing around, and in the background, the shot's kind of pointing up, and you can see like two little blurry outlines on the bridge, and that's when they notice and turn around.
Yeah.
And look, and you see Prue with Imhotep standing behind her.
Yeah.
In his lovely black suit.
Indeed. So Piper gets Phoebe's attention, and Phoebe's like, well, we can drive up there, but Piper realizes there's not enough time to drive up there because...
we don't know what kind of roads they're going to have to deal with if there's a stoplight.
And it also...
Traffic.
And it also doesn't look like it's a car crosswalk, really.
I think it might be.
I think it might be. It's a single car.
I think it's one of those, like, overpass dealies where it's a much smaller road that just has to go across this giant highway.
Yeah, it looks like a single car bridge if it's a car bridge at all.
And while the road bridge looks like it's parallel to the road they're on, or at least mostly parallel, the road they're on does not connect with the highway, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And
if we had a map of LA, we could probably figure it out.
Probably. Not going to worry about it.
Or if we knew what bridge that was.
Yeah. So they both go running up the hillside to get to Prue, and they're yelling at her that there's a Darklighter.
And he's trying to contradict everything they're saying because she can kind of hear them, but she can also mostly just hear him. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to be like, he's trying to respond to what they're saying by going, no, that's not true. No, that's not true.
Yeah. It's like, you're all alone. Just fucking jump already. That sort of thing,
Hurry up, damn it.
Yeah.
I believe he says.
Yeah, I think he does. And Phoebe, of course, yells out that she's stronger than he is, and this annoys the Darklighter. But her sister's voices ring true enough in her head that Prue is able to break from the Darklighter's mental hold.
And turn around.
Much to his surprise.
Spotting him.
Yeah. And then she uses her power to throw him across the bridge, but not so far that he hits the railing on the other side.
Or goes over.
No, he falls about a foot short of the railing, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, and he's like, I know my stats. I haven't lost anyone yet, and I'm not going to lose you. And she's like, you already lost 2 today, bub.
Yeah, but he, of course, is like, yeah, well, but you can't stop me, just as Piper and Phoebe make it to the bridge.
And then we get a nice shot angled a little further down the road, and we see Leo orbing in while running.
Yeah, and a full run.
A full run and yelling, and he fucking tackles the Darklighter.
Yeah, and so Piper is, of course, rightfully surprised by this. Leo asks if Prue is all right, And then, Piper and Phoebe run over to her and they hug her.
And
then
Leo
he's
orbs out with a dark lighter.
Yeah, he kind of goes, gotta go. And like orbs out and we hear the dark lighter like scream as they go. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. And that's how that scene ends, because then
that was written to be climactic, but it really wasn't.
It really wasn't. It really, really wasn't. It was very cheesy. Like,
so cheesy.
Yeah. So that's how that scene ends, because we then fade dissolve
into Prue, Piper, and Phoebe.
They're sitting on the couch in the parlor,
looking at a lovely black and white photo
right.
of that bridge that Prue had just been standing on,
which she apparently took during the time of Phoebe's premonition, 8 years prior. Yeah. So as we see them sitting on this couch, they are now in brand new outfits because it's, either the next day or whatever. And Prue is now wearing an orange tank top, a floor-length bright pink skirt, and a pink beaded cross necklace.
Cross from where?
Yes.
And she's got her hair up, kind of like
all three of them have their hairs up.
Bun. Piper is in what I would call a mock turtleneck.
Yeah, it's a short sleeve high neck top,
weirdly high neck.
Yeah,
it's annoying. It like the neck on a soda bottle.
Okay,
I just do not care for this style of shirt
Neither
at all.
do I.
And she's worn it several times. Like she had that crinkle one. Mm-hmm. I did not like that one either.
Yeah, but so this one's
like the American version of a mandarin collar.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like it's that shitty.
Yeah,
of a style.
Yeah,
shirt probably fine quality, but shitty style.
Yeah, so it's blue. And she has paired it with a patterned gray skirt that has like a little white, like lacy detail at the bottom. I swear she's worn this skirt before.
And it has like a tie.
Yeah.
Like a
tie at the waist.
Yeah, tie at the waist.
Yeah.
And her hair's like in a French twisty deal.
Yeah. Phoebe has on a light pink cropped tank top.
That appears to have some kind of underlayer, I think.
Yeah, it was weird. And black pants that have like a slightly different shade of black at the waistband. Like, it's kind of a scalloped trim over top.
And she's got a little pink headband.
Yeah. So Piper brings up the question of why Prue was on the bridge 8 years prior, and we learned that Prue was in a bad place, and she found herself on this bridge as she was scouting to take pictures, and she took the picture of the bridge to remind herself of how she was feeling at the time.
And she makes it very clear that at that time she was never going to jump. She just felt really bad.
Yeah.
And it probably was like one of those intrusive thoughts that crossed her mind. She's like, I probably wouldn't do that though.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that have those thoughts but don't actually act on them. Like, I think about that all the time of like,
oh yeah,
what would happen if I drive my car into this tree? But I'm never going to act on that. It was just a more of a
That's
thought
why they're
exercise.
called intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Because they just come in and you're like, Like, every time you hold a knife and you're just like, I wonder. And you're like, I'm not gonna.
Exactly. And that's why my personal thing is, if it looks like suicide, start asking questions, because I will never kill myself.
Yeah.
There's that. Anyway.
Phoebe asks Prue why she didn't develop the film until now, and Prue says that she wasn't ready to relive the pain, but she thinks she's ready.
Yeah, she thinks she's ready now. So then she gets up
and flip-flops over into the other room.
Yep. Into the living room, where there's apparently a lit fireplace for some reason. March in California, just saying. And she puts this black and white photo into the fireplace and she watches it burn, saying,
And I'm just like, that was a good photo, like...
Well, but she didn't destroy the negative, so she still has the negative. She can always reprint it, just saying. So
it's all symbolic.
Indeed. So she says, that was then and this is now, and she grabs a magazine off the table and opens it up to the article on Maggie, so we know this is 415 magazine.
Mm-hmm. And it's another lovely headshot style photo of Maggie where she's kind of got her chin in her hand.
Yeah.
And it's a really cute pose for Amy Adams. I love it.
Yeah.
And there's a 3-leaf clover behind her head.
And the title of the article reads, "The Luck of This Irish," which I thought was kind of funny. And then underneath that, there's like a 2-line paragraph that reads, "Maggie Murphy is not like the rest of us. She doesn't need to carry a rabbit's foot, cross her fingers, and never wash her lucky sweater."
No Oxford comma.
No Oxford comma, first of all. But also, the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. You know now that they had to rewrite this article. Because this article was supposed to be about her being the unluckiest Irish in the city. And now she's no longer the unluckiest Irish in the city. So they had to rewrite this article.
Which is probably what allowed Prue to be able to do the photo for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, someone probably called the magazine. They're like, hey, guess what? And they're like, well, I guess we gotta change this shit now.
Yeah. So, underneath the picture of Maggie, we see the caption, photographed by Prue Halliwell, which Prue is excited to show off to her sisters, saying that she's a professional photographer now.
She got paid for it.
Yeah. And then the doorbell rings, and Piper says that she'll get it, and Phoebe, of course, wonders what she's going to do if it's Dan at the door coming back early, and Piper says that just because Leo has his wings back doesn't change anything, so she's still going to break up with him. Mm-hmm. She says, I'll tell him the truth, but that isn't true. She's just going to break up with him, being like...
She's going to tell him the tiny sliver of the truth that she thinks his petty mortal mind can handle.
Exactly.
So as Piper's going to answer the door, Phoebe is gushing over Prue's photo and telling her how proud she is. It's a really cute sister moment.
It was a really, really cute sister moment. And then we cut to the foyer where Piper opens the door and it's foyer. Yeah. And Piper opens the door.
Remember, you're excited about there being the door there, so it's the foyer.
Yes. Anyway, we cut to the foyer where Piper opens the door to Leo. He is now in a gray sweater over a white t-shirt, khaki pants, and brown work boots.
Very Leo outfit.
Very, very
and
Leo.
She's just like, you rang the bell?
Yeah. He, of course, says that he wasn't sure how she'd feel about him just orbing in.
And then he just walks in.
Yeah. But it was a very funny little moment because she closes the door behind him and then kind of waits a beat, and she's like, I'd be okay with it. But it was that, I have to think, would I be okay with it? Yeah, I'd be okay with it. That little thing. So he, of course, then tells her that he was the one who asked for his wings back. Like, it wasn't their idea, it was mine, that sort of thing.
And Piper stops him from rambling by grabbing his hand, and they interlace their fingers, and they kind of
basically tells him
walk
she
down
doesn't
the
care.
hallway.
Yeah, she basically just is like, I don't care that you have your wings back. We're gonna make this work. Somehow we will find a way to make this relationship work. And we get the most adorable thing where they hug, and where he's like, I'm gonna hold you to that, and she goes, you do that. It was just the sweet little moment. We were just like, yes, you're gonna do that.
Whoever wrote this exchange needed to write the exchange at the beginning of the episode.
Yes,
because this was well done, and that was not.
Yeah. So they hug, and we get to see a lovely POV from the stairs looking onto them. And then we go to the end credits.
Yay!
And that's it. With the episode done, we are on to our ratings portion of the day. Would you like to go first?
No, you go first. I've been going first.
I don't remember who goes first. It's not like
I'm
we keep a track of that.
I'm pretty sure I keep going first.
All right. Okay. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. New beginnings.
Yeah, you always go, really somewhere in between classic and cliche.
Yeah.
With your terminology. I'm gonna go with 8 out of 10, quote-unquote, artsy stock photos.
All right, sounds good. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. I usually go with whatever hits me in the moment. I mean, if we remember back to 213, I was all about the novelty slippers. So, with our ratings done, we are on to our outfits. Did you have an outfit that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I really liked Phoebe's, hey look, I'm a college student outfit.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I absolutely hated Piper's outfit from the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I just hate that style of shirt. It doesn't look good on anyone.
No, it really doesn't.
And I love Holly Marie Combs, so I don't like to see her in stuff she doesn't look good in.
Yeah. For me, I like the outfit that Prue wore for most of the episode. The red leather pants and the blue top with the jacket.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Sure. For Piper, I liked the outfit she had at the beginning. The shirt-skirt combo. For Phoebe, I like the outfit that she wears for most of the episode, but only once she puts the jacket on.
Yeah.
I didn't really care much for the Ming's tattoo shirt. I was not really a fan of that one. But whatever. So, with our ratings done and our outfits done, that means we're on to social media time.
Social media time.
As per always, you can find us at charmchats.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/charmchats.
We are on Twitter and Tumblr at
charmchatspod. Yep. You can find us on Instagram under charmchats. And you can find us on patreon.com/charmchats. And speaking of Patreon, we have a new patron! Woohoo! At the $1 tier, that means we get to shout your name into the ether. Are you ready? thank you very much to Adam!
Yay, we were nearly in sync with that.
Yeah, it was very good. We did good.
Which means we were 98 degrees. Get it?
I get it. Not happy about it, but I get it.
And as always, you can email us with questions, queries, comments, whatever.
Exactly. You can
At
email us
charmchats@gmail.com.
Indeed. And if you have anything that you would like to ask us about anything, go ahead and email us. If you have questions or comments about an episode 3 seasons down, go ahead and ask them now.
Oh yeah, we
for
probably won't air them yet, but we'll answer.
When we
them.
get to that episode, we will come back to that email and we will totally answer it. We record our podcast on Sundays. If you want to tweet at us on a Sunday,
we're down for it.
We're down for it. Just remember that we record a few episodes ahead of what comes out. So if we are on episode 216 right now, so if you would like to start sending us stuff for season 3, go for it. And we will get to that when we get to that. And it will all be great. I think that's everything. We got the website, we got the email, we got the Twitter, the Tumblr, the Facebook, the Instagram, the Patreon. Yeah. The only other thing is if you could rate and review us on iTunes for all those new people coming through on iTunes. Give us a rating and a review and be awesome that way. So, until next time.
Sleep tight. Don't let the warlocks bite.
Bye!
Bye.
Phoebe, Piper, and Prue, they've got evil to slay and some potions to brew. So we'll see where it's at. It's Week with Kendra and Kat.